Welcome. We are initiating ourselves to be parallel with Geeta, Ganita Sutra, Satta, Vibhuti, Guna, Adhar. The values-based features of mathematical domain of Geeta is being attempted to be comprehended. We have seen in the previous session that the organization feature is of Panchvritya, five folds, means five chapters stand organized as a one chase step. We had seen that chapters 1 to 5 are of total shlokas range 233, while the Pushpika syllables are 236. Let us sit comfortably and reappreciate this feature. The shlokas are 233. The Pushpika letters are 236. Let us further sit comfortably and have a blissful visit to Ganita Upsutras. The total letters of all 13 Ganita Upsutras are 236. It is this interrelationship, it is this interlocking of 233 shlokas of chapters 1 to 5 and the Pushpika syllables 236 and the letters of 13 Ganita Upsutras which deserve to be comprehended fully. It is with this comprehension, it is with this imbibing that we will be having proper initiation, and this initiation will lead us to proper insight and appropriate enlightenment about this organization. Today, let us visit the next set of 5 chapters, chapters 6 to 10. Chapters 6 to 10 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita are of 47, 30, 28, 34, and 42 shlokas ranges, making total summation value 181. The Pushpika letters are 239. Let us focus upon the shlokas of chapters 6 to 10 being 181, while the shlokas of chapters 1 to 5 were 233. Now see, 181 is the middle organization. Panchvritya, five folds organization at first step is of chapters 1 to 5 of total shlokas 233. The second step in this sequence of this format of this organization of chapters 6 to 10 takes us to total 181 shlokas. See, the first step is a 233 shlokas, the middle step is a 181 shlokas, and the following, the next, the final, the third step of chapters 11 to 18 is going to be of 286 shlokas. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit our transcending mind to glimpse this specific organization feature. Panchvritya, five folds organization at its first step of chapters 1 to 5 of Gita is of 233 shlokas. The middle, the second step of five-folds organization feature of chapters 6 to 10 is of 181. However, the third step of chapters 11 to 18 is of 286 shlokas. Now, let us revisit this first step 233 value, middle step 181 value, and final step of 286 values. Let us sit comfortably and have a comprehensive view. For this comprehensive view, we are having 5 figures on the computer screen. The first figure is that this sphere, a 3-space body, hypersphere, with 4 space as origin. Origin of 3 space is 4 space. Hypercube 4 is the representative regular body of a 4 space. So at the origin seat is the placement of hypercube 4. 4 space as origin. Hypercube 4 as the representative regular body of a 4 space is having a seat at center of 3 space setup. Now see, this body, hypercube 4, is having solid boundary of 8 components. 4 space is a spatial order space. There are a pair of axes for the spatial order itself. Therefore, we can glimpse this as the first axis as of value 1, the second axis as well of value 1, and at the middle, at the center, at the kendra, with placement of hypercube 4 as a 4-space envelope within a solid boundary of 8 components, makes this organization of triple values 1, 8, and 1. These triple values 1, 8, and 1 are parallel with value 181 of a 10-place value system. We shall be revisiting this as to how the Vedic systems are having complete unison with the numbers as numerals, numbers as numbers, values of a 10-place value system, numbers as values parallel with the dimensional spaces, dimensional axis. For the present, figure 1 is of the feature that at the center is the placement of hypercube 4 as a 4-space enveloped within a solid boundary of 8 components. And this spatial order setup of 4-space is a setup of a pair of axes for the spatial order itself. So these pair of axes and the origin, the center, which is enveloped within the solid boundary of 8 components, with this sequential formatting as 181 and the value 181 of 10-place value system, give us an insight as to how the Vedic systems are successfully unifying the artifices of numbers and dimensional frames, dimensional spaces, dimensional bodies, dimensional content, and all connected aspects. Figure 2 depicts as that four space as origin itself is a setup of five space as origin of a four space. So from four space origin, the inward seal for the four space domain is the transcendental seal. It is a solid order five space playing the role of an origin of a four space. So at the middle, as origin of a spatial order is being sustained, is being interlocked by the solid order origin of a four space itself. Now, three space is in the role of dimension of a five space, which itself is the origin of a four space, and four space is of a spatial order. It is this spatial order of a four space which splits three space, three-dimensional frame into a pair of three space content lumps as a pair of three-dimensional frames of half dimensions. So figure 2 and 3 together are depicting as to how the three-dimensional frame of this solid order of the transcendental origin of the creator's space is resulting into a split for a three-dimensional frame into a pair of three-dimensional frames of half dimensions. The comprehensive view of this happening as such will take us to that the first step of Panchvritya, five folds, in the context of the text of Geeta yields value 233 as the total number of shlokas of chapters 1 to 5. The middle step of the Panchvritya five folds organization feature takes us to value 181 as the value of the total number of shlokas of chapters 6 to 10 of the Gita. And the final step, which is going to be of 8 chapters, 5 plus 3 means 5 space domain together with 3 space dimension of a 5 space getting superimposed upon it like the unmanifest gets tagged, unified, interlocked with the domain itself. This is the feature which also shall be revisited by us time and again, and we will be exploring this aspect in further details. But for the present, it be taken that the first step of five folds organization in the context of the text of Gita as of chapters 1 to 5 is of value 233, parallel with the total number of shlokas of chapters 1 to 5. The middle step, the second step, is of value 181, parallel with the total shlokas of chapter 6 to 10 being 181. And the final step, the third step, is of value 286. Let us have a pause here. Let us glimpse, let us imbibe the bliss that 233 first step reach, 181 the middle step reach, 286 the final step reach is of exhaustive coverage of value 700 parallel with 700 shlokas of the entire text of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Let us sit comfortably. Let us revisit this organization feature, and when we shall be having revisit to this organization format, then our focus at value 233, which is only 3 less than 236, the total number of the letters of Ganita Upsutras, and 286, which is precisely 3 units more than that of value 283, total number of letters of the text of Ganita Sutras. It is this correlation which deserves to be comprehended well. It is in terms of this comprehension that we shall be permitting our mental state to be parallel with the Vedic systems. The text of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as Panchvritya reach, is having Ganita Upsutras on one side of the middle and the Ganita Sutras are on the other side of the middle. The value 233 as dimension takes us to value 236 as an origin. Likewise, the value 286 as an origin takes us to value 283 as a dimension. So see the split of a three-dimensional frame into a pair of three-dimensional frame of half dimensions, and those dimensions of these split dimensional frames are of opposite orientations. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to glimpse and imbibe this split phenomenon of a three-dimensional frame into a pair of three-dimensional frames of half dimensions of opposite orientations. Once we will be parallel with this split phenomenon, we shall be blissfully proceeding parallel with the Vedic processing system. The sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with the Vedic mathematics shall begin with Ganita Sutra 1 as the source of sutra and Ganita Upsutra 1 as the source of sutra. On the screen, the first row is a serial number of letters 1 to 16 of the text of Ganita Sutra 1, Eka Adhikena Purven. The second row is tabulating the 16 letters of the text of Ganita Sutra 1 in the sequence and order of the placement of letters of this text. The third row is depicting the transcendental code values, the placement values of these letters of the text of Ganita Sutra 1 as per their placement in the Devanagari alphabet. This placement values row is transcendental code values row, as it is ultimately the transcendental origin of the creator's space, which is going to settle the transcendental phenomenon. The transcendence from the fourfold manifested creations is the mathematics, is the Vedic mathematics, is the Vedic mathematics of Ganita Sutras. Sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic mathematics shall begin with Ganita Sutra 1 and approach it the way the text of Ganita Sutra 1 stands organized. And once we will be parallel with the sequential placements of the letters of the text of Ganita Sutra 1, we shall be having row 3 of the transcendental code values. These transcendental code values in fact are transcendence within six-space domain. From six-space domain, there is a reach at a four-space dimension, and step ahead, there is a reach at dimension of a four-space. These three steps ultimately at the next step take us at the origin of a six-space, that is value 7. Now, this specific reach in respect of six-space is permitting generalization. This internal transcendence phenomenon from a domain to origin and ahead is not only restricted for six-space domain, but Vedic mathematics in terms of Ganita Upsutra 1 Anurupain, proportionate symmetry, following the forms as these are framed. This symmetry rule will permit us to have third row value in its general form as is being depicted in the lower part of the tabulation on the computer screen under the caption of Ganita Upsutra 1 Anurupain. One shall sit comfortably and to have a reach from the specific TC values row 3 of the upper part of the table to the row 1 in the lower part of the table. So from specific to general, it is a blissful exercise. Once we will be having a reach from the specific TC values rows for the text of Ganita Sutra 1 to its general formatting as per the symmetry rule of Ganita Sutra 1, then it would be blissful to note that the Kane formulation of 9 letters in general leads to value 8 into n minus 1, while the Purvain takes us to value 7m. However, as we know, the first letter of Ganita Sutra 1 is A, the sixth vowel, and it is the first letter of Ekadikane, while the first letter of the formulation Purvain Pa is a value 5. So M in its generality will become n minus 1. So the total summation value in its generality will be 15 into n minus 1, and n is equal to 6 will give us the specific value 75. When n is equal to 5, it will give value 60. When n is equal to 3, it will become 45. When n is equal to 2, when n is equal to 1, when n is equal to 0, or n is equal to 7, n is equal to 8, or n is equal to 9. This way, Vedic mathematics is of specific values as well as is of general values. Sadhakas fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with Vedic systems, Vedic mathematics, shall begin with Ganita Sutra 1 together with Ganita Upsutra 1 and have a reach from specific to the general mathematical processes. Thank you very much.